Is this where you got inspiration for e-mobility, the trams?
Yes, we are driving electric with torque vectoring on every steel wheel, whatever.
Welcome press. Yeah, in this case, definitely welcome press. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. In case you came here for Rimac or Rimac, I better ask Mate today how the actual pronunciation is, but he told me last year, but I forgot the official pronunciation. Anyhow, if you came in for the factory tour, skip the video somewhere there. You know how YouTube works. In case you're older audience and you don't care what I'm going to show to you today, stick around, because today is going to be pretty special. First of all, it's going to be one of the most exciting trips, but also most unprepared trips for me. Because first of all, let me tell you something about the weather. Let me tell you something about the camera that I'm using, because I told you in yesterday's vlog I'll be using the new camera, which is, I film my vlogs on my phone, which is the Galaxy S10 Plus in this case, so I hope the quality is better. Now the next thing, again, Mate, he has invited me for his latest product launch, which is going to be an e-bike, Greyp G6. Now, you know that apart from running occasionally in the winters around the track, I'm not that really active. So when I got like the how-to preparation sheet from his launch manager or marketing manager, there was like the whole program, and then like, hey, make sure you got your riding attire. Yeah, I'm like, I don't have any riding gear. Make sure to take your backpack with you. I don't have anything else other than my laptop backpack, so it's going to be exciting. But yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's go to Frankfurt International Airport, fly to Zagreb, and enjoy the ride. I'm very much excited for it, especially with the bad weather here. Why do we have to go through this if Croatia is part of the European Union and so is Germany?
Is this the first time in Croatia?
Yeah, it is.
For you?
Not for me, no.
Not for you.
I'm very much excited.
Holiday here at least once a
A
year.
few times.
Yeah.
Okay. The grape building and
Feel free to
And the best part, absolutely the best part. That's a nice warm welcome. And now, let's check out the R&D department of Rimac. Need to find the... Yeah, here we go. That's where all the ideas come to life. What a surprise, carbon fiber.
We'll have now a tour, so let's get started. I think that everybody's here.
Right, so basically what we're told that we cannot film the battery assembly line and car manufacturing assembly line. So, but I guess I'm not being shot yet, so I'm okay to film here. And we'll find out what it is.
C2, there's a bunch of different tools, this is just part of them. And this machine is building the tools, and you'll see later how we design the parts, how we design the tools, and how we build the parts out of these tools. So most of these tools are used to make carbon fiber parts, which end up, currently the production is for the C2. And on the other side here, we produce parts that actually go in the products. So I will show you some parts here, but for example, we make parts for the Aston-Martin battery pack, for example, for Koenigsegg batteries, or for our own motors, or for gearboxes, or for buttons in the car. So there's thousands of different parts being produced here on our own machines. And this is how it works for prototype and small volume production. But the big step for the company is to go into higher volume production, which means more automation, more serial production processes. So instead of machining everything, it will be more injection molded, sand casted and stuff like that. And that's the big step for the company in the new facility.
Where's the socket 10? That's not a socket 10. Oh, it's 12, but still not a 10.
Just to give you an example of the parts that we produce here, but it's basically thousands. So this is a housing of the rear inverter for the C2. So this is part of a 1 megawatt inverter that is converting the DC power from the battery into AC for the motors. So this started its life as a big aluminum block basically like this. And the same aluminum block cut up will be used maybe for a part of the battery for Aston-Martin, for part of the C2 motor, or here for some carbon fiber tooling. So thousands of different parts are made here, and the great thing why we have this in-house is to be flexible. So we design it one day, and the other day we can already have the parts. But it's a very cost-intensive process, so you start with a big block of aluminum, and in the end you end up throwing away 90% of the material. So this works when you have to be fast and do low volumes, but once you go into higher volumes you have to make a tool for this, which is very expensive, and then every piece costs a lot less. So to give you like an example, this part made like this maybe costs, I don't know, 3,000 euros maybe, but in production it should cost maybe 10 euros, but then you need to invest in a 200,000 euro tooling.
Oh, doing some cryptocurrency here, huh?
That's an autonomous riding computer.
Oh,
Expensive shit.
yeah. Level 4, right? Or level 2?
Depends what you do with it. Depends
Okay.
what you do with it. So here we have our wiring area. This is actually the last Concept 1 chassis. So next to this building we are welding all the chassis. So the C2 is of course a full carbon fiber monoblock. The Concept 1 was welded chrome-molybdenum space frame, and it takes like 2.5 months to build one, and all of them were built here. And this is the last one, which is now coming from painting, and the guys are doing the wiring here. So here the guys do wiring for the cars, but also for components. So high voltage wires, like this big orange ones. So these are basically transporting 1 megawatt of power for the Concept 1, and 1.4 megawatt for the C2. But also the low voltage wiring, which ends up in components like the inverters or the infotainment system. So yeah, this is the last Concept 1 chassis. You will see 2 other cars in assembly for customers later, where we cannot take pictures because the customers don't want to show the cars before they are delivered.
Is this also a customer car or something?
It's also a customer car, but it's in a state where you cannot recognize it. So
Okay.
So this is where you make a bunch of components. So for example, this is the power distribution unit for Concept 1. Or here the guys are assembling the gearbox for Concept 1, so for the last Concept 1 parts. So we have machined housings and like shafts and gears and stuff like that. And then here it's assembled to a component. This is a prototype, you can disassemble it. Yeah, for example, a prototype Concept 1 light unit. So we did crazy things on our own, like you won't see really other manufacturers developing, making their own lights or gearboxes, but that's how we did things. But here also we produce parts for other car companies. So here is the PDU production for Koenigsegg. So you can see power distribution being produced here. So this is the Koenigsegg Regera power distribution unit. So it has a bunch of parts that come from all over the company. So composite parts, machine parts, 3D printed parts, electronics, wiring, and it all comes here together, also with some off-the-shelf parts like relays and fuses. So this is basically distributing the power from the battery to the other consumption units in the car, like inverters or chargers or heater or air conditioning. Being channeled through this. So the big step for the company is from doing things like this, like prototype production, now going into higher volume production, into from hundreds of units into thousands of units in production lines, and industrializing the process. That's the big step for the company in the new location. So next we are going to carbon fiber production.
Ooh.
Here we are laminating all the carbon parts. So they start their life as rolls of carbon fiber and different other materials, different composite and other materials. So the rolls are cut on this machine there to pieces like this, and then the operators get their tools. So it can be a metal tool, like in this case, which is made on the smaller machines we just saw there. It can be a big tool, which is then made out of a material which we call necuron. And basically, then sometimes it's a direct tool, so it's a direct negative. So you laminate the carbon fiber into the mold, Or if it's a more complex shape, we usually make a positive on the machines and then we make a carbon fiber tool for the part. So this was first a positive, milled in a machine, and then a carbon fiber tool. So bigger parts usually have a carbon fiber tool, smaller and simple parts have aluminum direct tool because you skip one step of doing this by hand. So when they laminate it here with different materials, it can be from 2 layers of carbon fiber up until like 25 layers. I think this is actually one of those parts. This is, I think, a brace for Koenigsegg battery pack, so structural component, which has like 20 layers, and it can be carbon fiber, glass fiber for insulation, it can be a Kevlar for penetration protection, behave, copper, all laminated into the same part, depending on what the part needs to do, and in exactly the right process, the right layers put in the right angle, because for example you have carbon fiber which is unidirectional, which means it can take up loads in just one direction. So if you put it in the wrong way, in the wrong angle, it cannot take the load and the part can break. So all the Concept 1 carbon fiber pieces are actually made here. So after they are laminated, they are put in a vacuum bag where we suck out the air. Then it goes into the autoclaves, which are the big ovens you see there. They are put out of the autoclaves, trimmed, bonded if necessary, and then put on the cars. In some cases they are also upholstered, so depending on the part. So these parts then overnight usually go into the autoclaves, which you can see there, which are big ovens that bake them over in a certain temperature range and under big pressure from outside and the vacuum inside the bag. So you can see how they laminate some of the parts here. So this is the raw carbon fiber, which in this process of baking, from this like soft material becomes harder than steel and lighter than steel. So it's a very interesting material. This is basically the same way how you make Formula 1 parts or aeronautical parts. It's a very manual process. So we even make the seat, so the seat housing and the seat upholstering is done in the company. The doors and stuff. Oh. Your paint shop.
Oh, coffee machine.
Okay, so we're now going to battery. So
no film.
no photos here. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, so we have over 250 engineers in Rimac. There is another, I think, 30 in Greyp. So the engineering is divided in 2 main groups. One is vehicle engineering, which is here. The other one is component engineering, which is upstairs. So all these people here are developing our cars, which is at the moment everybody is still working on the C2. So it's different stages of the project. We are doing different things. So we are now producing the prototypes of the cars, but the engineers are still working on, let's say, not anymore the big things, but really getting the last 10 or 5 or 3%, depending on where we are. So here we are divided in several areas. Here we have vehicle dynamics, and they do all the, let's say, suspension, kinematics, elastrokinematics, integration of braking system, steering system, and defining how the car will drive and feel, basically. And then we have trims, which are responsible for interior and some exterior parts, for the ergonomics in the car, for airbags and stuff like that. Body, which developed the monocoque, the chassis, the doors. Then we have electrical integration. Here is CFD for the aerodynamics, so all the aerodynamic systems, the active aerodynamics and the simulations are done by these guys. We have a supercomputer running all of those calculations, usually overnight. CAE department, which is doing all the simulations for crash testing and the structural development, and powertrain integration. So for example, here the powertrain integration system team, they are a powertrain team, but they don't develop the powertrain. The powertrain is developed upstairs by the guys, so the motors, gearboxes and inverters are developed upstairs. These guys are giving the requirements and integrating them into the car. So the difference between the component engineering and the vehicle engineering is that here we develop everything that's specific for the car, which means, for example, the suspension and the chassis and the exterior, but the motors and gearboxes that we can use somewhere else for other OEMs, for other car manufacturers, we develop in components.
You told us everything about R&D, but tell us more about the food.
This is sarma, modern sarma.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a Balkan traitor. I'm vegetarian.
Oh, no way. So you have vegetarian burgers.
I'm a vegetarian Bosnian. Can you imagine that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was it for the factory tour. We are now going to the hotel, chill a bit, and then the presentation event of Greyp, the next generation of e-bike, the revolution. I think it's revolutionary, from what I've heard, is gonna happen. So stay tuned. Till then, before we go, look at these parking spots. Reserved for cars with at least 2 milligrams of free electrons. Okay, with 1 Guinness World Record. Difficult. Well, not for Rimac. Really need to work on my pronunciation here today. 4 separate propulsion systems. For you. Oh, how nice. And the visitors.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Fancy goodies. Goodies. Oh, I think that's the battery. I think. Oh no, goodie bar. Okay, cool. Alright, you got t-shirts. Nice. What do we have here? It's a jacket. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. It's like even like rain, like, yeah, weatherproof, windproof. Yeah, proper riding gear. That's cool. Awesome. And what's in here? I want to see the socks. I think socks are going to be the most amazing thing. There is no instruction of how to operate this thing. I don't want to mess it up, but... Right, 10 hours later, maybe at some point. Fast forward into the night, and now we are going to the actual launch party of Greyp, and look at that. I'm not sure if the camera can show it to you, but it's supposed to be yellow. Yeah, the building, all the lights supposed to be yellow, so this is actually the first, what's the critique point of my camera? It doesn't show yellows, but actually the night performance of the city is quite good. I mean, for me, it's a general pleasure just to be here, because after spending so much time in the village of Nürburgring, I'm kind of missing the big city, especially coming from Moscow. But yeah, let's get there and see what it's all about. Not as spectacular as I wished it to be, but well, €1 is maybe a bit too much. €2. Well, you know what? It's worth it. I really like the city, so I really want to come back here. So now for the camera purpose. Yeah, there it went somewhere. And check out the custom beer.
Hello everybody. Thank you so much for coming here, especially our friends, partners, dealers, supporters, fans from all over the world. We have many of you who came from long distances to get here today and for the event we have tomorrow. So thank you so much to be in the beautiful city of Zagreb in this beautiful venue today. So many of you here followed our journey from the beginning for the last 10 years. And many of you here also have been very important from day one of our journey. What we have set out to do from the beginning was sometimes considered, or often considered, impossible. It would raise eyebrows or cause skepticism because it seemed impossible to do. After I built my first electric car, the old BMW E30, green BMW E30, I wanted to build a car from scratch. And being in Croatia, there was no car industry, nobody that I could really ask for help or advice. But I wanted to ask somebody to help me, so I went to the University of Mechanical Engineering in Zagreb and told them what I wanted to do, that I wanted to build a car. And they told me it is impossible to build a car in Croatia. The sooner you give up, the less people will go on the road.
Well, it seems this was the building right direction. I will not tease you further. We will show you the bike and tell you more about its features and what makes it unique later. So stay tuned for the really interesting bits later, but for now, this is the brand new Greyp G6. The G6 comes in 3 flavors, the G6, G6.1, G6.2 and G6.3. So all of them have top-of-the-line components, and the G6.3 being the top of the range, with a 45 km/h top speed and a 400 watt-hour. That's what's limited by the regulations, by the law. While the 2 other models are limited to 25 km/h and 250 watts.